Hello, I'm your host, Kathy Chester, and welcome to the Move It or Lose It podcast, a podcast about all things that move the mind, body, and soul. The Move It or Lose It podcast is for information, awareness, and inspirational purposes only. I am not a doctor, and I don't even play one on TV. So please consult with your doctor before making any medical decisions. The views expressed by advertisers, guests, or contributors are their opinions and not necessarily the views of the Move It or Lose It podcast. Hey guys, so welcome back to Move It or Lose It. So I know I say this often, but you have seen things that I've done with Address MS. And one of my favorite things is that all of the people that work with Address MS are college kids. So from high school, maybe, but just into college, these are all students and they don't have MS. They actually just do this because they're very passionate about multiple sclerosis. So I've been trying to get them on a podcast for a long time, but they finally have agreed to do this. So thank you guys so much. So with no further ado, here is Address MS. Here are two of my officers. So here's Taran and Menal. Welcome to Move It or Lose It.
Hi, we're excited to be here and spread more awareness about Address MS and MS as a whole.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you for having us here.
Absolutely. So my initial meeting, you guys, was just, you had asked me to be on a panel with you guys. And it was just talking about different multiple sclerosis issues that we face and things like that. And I was so impressed with the fact that you were such a young group and more impressed that none of you had it. I thought that your moms and that maybe some of you had it and that this what drove you, but I was completely wrong about Address MS. So for our listeners who've never even heard of Address MS, tell our listeners what exactly what it is and how it even got started.
Yeah, of course. So Address MS is a student-led organization that works to spread awareness and educate both our local and a broader community about what MS is. So Address MS was founded by two different people, Rashmi and Ryan, who are now rising freshmen in college. So they're going to be college students next year. And it basically started as one of the co-founders, his family members, they actually had multiple sclerosis. And both co-founders, they work to help in efforts to raise awareness for MS since the 6th grade, before they even started Address MS, because their family hosted these MS walks, where a bunch of people in our community could just gather and walk and help raise awareness for it. And the reason they started Address MS was because a lot of other diseases have many organizations that help spread awareness, but MS was often overshadowed by other diseases and is unknown by many students and just people around the world. So together, they decided to drive advocacy and fundraising efforts for MS, both in the Northern Virginia community and the greater community as a whole. So me personally, I've been with Address MS since its beginning, but I've served as executive director for this year specifically, and I've loved everything they strive for. And while I don't have any personal connection with MS, or I don't have anyone in my family that has MS, ever since I've been in this organization, I've learned so much about it. And I just enjoy helping my community learn more about it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm truly so incredibly impressed with what you guys do. What, if you don't mind me asking, Terrence, you've been in this for a while, what has been some of the things that you've learned about MS with what I'm sure now that you've seen a lot of people with it, that have been some of the things that you've been kind of shocked about that you didn't know?
One thing definitely was how common it was, because to be honest, even before I joined this organization, I didn't even know what MS was at all. So by seeing this organization, especially when we did that speaker panel twice now, hearing the stories of how much it really affected and impacted people with MS was really surprising to me. And how it can last so long. It can start at such a young age, especially because I know for some of our speakers, they've had it since they were teenagers, and they still have it and they're still fighting with it. So one thing that really shocked me was both how common it was and how much really of an effect it can have on someone's life.
Yeah, and it is such a weird, I'm gonna turn this down a little bit. I'm gonna start with the halo on soon. And I do think it is such a weird thing. I'm sure you guys have found this, that it hits us all so differently, right? Like you can, next to you can be someone who has had it for 8 days and they're in a wheelchair and they can't
Yeah.
walk. And I've
Mhm.
had it 20 something years and I can
Yeah.
still run. And it's like, it's so different. I'm still in relapsing remitting, which is the first one. And I can be next to someone who's had it for a year and they're in secondary. And it's like, what?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly. Seeing how much like of a different impact it can have on different people, no matter how long you've had it, is definitely
exactly, for
surprising.
sure.
Mhm.
So, did you see that also, Menal? Are you seeing that now?
Oh yeah, like
Yeah.
last year I started off as a part of our journalism team. So when I started writing articles, I was like, whoa, like finding out about like stuff with drug usage and how like the FDA even decides how to help people. Just seeing this whole process of how people with MS are really addressed and the struggle with autoimmune diseases. Because
Mhm.
I have family members who have autoimmune diseases and I see how hard it is for them to get help. And
Yes.
like the speaker panel, like Taran said, it was just really, really heartwarming. And I felt like it was a humbling experience
Yeah.
because we take so many things for granted. But people are going through so much. And if you just take a minute back and you just try to understand what you have and be more considerate of what other people don't, it's just a good feeling.
Well, it really means so much to us to have such a young group like you guys are that takes so much time and so much effort to go into this. It gives us so much hope that our young people really do, that there's hope out there. So it really does mean so much to us. So thank you for letting us know how it got started. So my second question to you guys is, as a group of young people, how did you decide to begin a nonprofit? That can be a lengthy thing. And I know with my thing is I developed MS Disrupted, and that's more of like how to teach autoimmune, not just MS. As you guys know, I have epilepsy and rheumatoid as well as MS. I'm just such an overachiever. I really wanted to help people move. And so I gave up my gym to do this instead, to really help them to be able to move their bodies. And we know how important movement is. And so how did you guys land on, we touched a little bit on that because you felt that MS was so just not taken care of, not talked about enough, not taught on enough. And I definitely agree. How many people have asked me if I have muscular dystrophy, and I'm like, or they'll say MS and they'll say crazy things to me. I mean, I've had it so long, they'll say, oh, that's too bad. My friend died. It was sad, but you won't, I'm sure. And I'm like, gosh, where do these people think to say the dumbest stuff? So you talked a little bit about what brought you to MS. Is that where everybody feels and address MS? What exactly brought you to a nonprofit, and why multiple sclerosis in general? And has that ever changed? Have you ever thought to go anywhere else, or has it just been this whole time MS really has driven you?
Yeah, so for me personally, being a part of any nonprofit organization was something I always was motivated to do, because I really just wanted to make some sort of tangible impact on my community. So and then when Ryan and Rashmi created Address MS, like I said, I was really unaware of how common it was, but I knew I wanted to become more educated on it because I didn't know much about it, and also help my local community as well. So I started off as the web designer. So even then I was still just designing the website and like putting in like the articles for the blogs and stuff, but I still didn't really understand. But then when it came time for me to become executive director, it was such a knowledgeable experience just because I learned so much more. Um, and like I said before, MS is such an overlooked disease when compared to other diseases. So really our goal with the organization was to share the hundreds of stories of individuals with MS, and just create like a safe and positive learning environment for students, because a lot of people don't know about MS, like I said. And that's why some of our events, even we've done like we've done lessons at elementary schools, just because starting educating our students at such a young age is very important. And yeah.
Yeah, I love that. What about you, Menal?
For personally me, I joined in last year and I found it just a really like knowledgeable experience. And then when I came director of journalism, I saw that our community was just so interested in learning more about MS. Like whenever we did fundraisers or just walks, there were so many people who wanted to donate to be a part of it. So I feel like going forward with MS, we just got so much support from our own community and we saw so many people who were interested. It was really motivating to keep on going with this. And it was just a knowledgeable experience. And like Taran said, I feel like a lot of people, and especially like at the age we're at, we really want to make an impact on our society, especially since a lot of people, like are raising awareness about topics dearest to them. So seeing that impact, it really motivates you to go ahead and do that too.
Yeah, agree. I love that so much about your age. And I think that that's probably for me one of the most exciting things. I think what I see in your age group that's different in the other age groups is that it's there's something that's a very authentic piece with your age group, and there's something that doesn't want to just be here to be here. You want to be here with a passion and something that like you said, that's authentic, that sticks, and you want to be here with a purpose. And I love that because it just means so much to me that there's so many things you want to accomplish. And it's not just like the status, like, well, I'm here, I'm going to go to college and do this. It's something that is very valuable to you to make a difference. And I just love that. So, one of the things that I really loved is just the questions and the heart and being a part of like the panels. And so what are some of the things that you guys have been able to do that you can look back on and say, that was my favorite, or that was the thing that really tugged on me, that really like, I could barely get through that really like tugged on my heart? What are some of the things that you can think of? I'll let you go first, Menal, because I keep asking Taran first.
For me, this year in May, we hosted a fundraiser with Koki Tea, a local boba and like croffle shop. And it's like May, mid exams, and I go with a group of friends and we spend like 30 minutes there to get boba, to relax a little. And I think those 30 minutes were probably the best and the most like I just felt so good after that because whoever we asked if they're interested in donating or just saying address MS at the counter, because I think around 15% of their profits would have came to us. They were just so willing to donate or say, or even like take some money out of their pocket and just give it. It was just such a positive experience. And like for me, charity is really big in my family too. So I feel really good after that. And those 30 minutes of just, I see like so many people, everybody coming from their homes with, different backgrounds, different beliefs, but being firm on that one belief to give to a good cause just made me
Yeah,
feel really, really good. And it was really successful because we raised around $400 that
that's
we can donate
awesome.
to societies.
That's great. That's so neat. I love that. What about you, Taran?
So yeah, for me, my personal favorites have definitely been the speaker panels and also like the educational lessons for elementary school children. And mainly the speaker panels, just because all of the work we do, like we write articles and we make Instagram posts about MS, which just information we can find on Google and like research. But when we did our international speaker panel, we had perspectives from all around the world. We had someone from the UK too. And just hearing their like personal story specifically and how they've had it for so long and how they've overcome many of the challenges and obstacles they faced, and even the judgment they received as they had at such a young
Right.
age, they're growing up. A lot of people have stuff to say. So hearing those personal stories was definitely insightful and very enjoyable to hear. And also the elementary school lessons, just because for me personally, I didn't even know what MS was, like I said. So like having like informing and educating these little kids at such a young
Right.
age can hopefully even spark motivation for them to join MS or even start something like this that can make an impact on their community.
Absolutely. I love that you guys are going into the elementary schools because we know more and more kids are getting MS.
Mhm.
And I think that it's so important that they not only are aware of it, but most likely someone in their family will have it. And what a heads up they're going to have on understanding what the disease is. And, I remember with my kids, Unfortunately, I had an amazing neurologist at the time, and he actually sat my kids down and told them kind of what to expect back then, because they just didn't do that 20 something years ago. And I got it when I was really young, which was odd because you didn't hear much about that. And so I was like early 20, like just kind of in my, just barely 20 in my 20s. And so that was scary. So when my kids were little, my neurologist took them and sat them down and kind of explained what he could to them. And, it was scary because I was always super energetic, and I kind of had times where I was sitting down, mom never sat down. So it's like, mom's dying. And so it was just, really scary for them. So it's really, really neat that you guys did that, because kids want to know, they want information. When they don't understand something, as we know with the pandemic, it's really scary for them. It's scary for all of us. But when we try to hide things from kids, it doesn't make it better. It makes it scarier for them. So I love that you guys did that. So I really do love that you guys are doing so many things with the community and the nonprofit, the stuff that you guys have been doing that. Tell me about the tea fundraiser that you guys partnered with the University of Virginia. What was that?
Yeah, so Koki Tea is a local, I'm not sure if it's local or not, but it's a boba tea store near our community that was just recently built. And they host a lot of fundraisers in partnerships with many people around us and many nonprofits and schools. So I contacted them, and then they responded a couple of weeks later saying they'd be happy to. So we got 20% of all sales that day.
And that's the one that you went to? That's right. Okay, got it.
Yeah, so like me, the whole office team went, and we got as many of our friends to come and just raise as much money as possible. All they had to say was, "We're here for Address MS" at the counter, and there's balloons, and they decorated the place nicely to match
I love
MS
that.
colors. Yeah, so it was very fun. They're very nice to do that, and they're very nice because they had it like they had balloons and they had like other decorative stuff that was with our Address MS colors, blue and orange. And yeah, just having a lot of my friends, they didn't know what MS was either. So having them become aware of it was pretty fun too.
That's awesome. So now where are the two of you guys from? Where do you both live?
So yeah, so I think we both live in South Riding, Virginia.
Okay. So are most of the people that are in Address MS, are they in Virginia?
Yeah, most of our
Okay.
executive team is from from Virginia. Loudoun County Public School specifically is how we got them. So they're generally pretty local and near us. And our team members, however, they can be like from anywhere. But again, most of them are from Virginia just because that's where most of us are from anyway.
Okay. And then tell me, how many team members consist with Address MS? How many do you have?
So yeah, so we have 5 executive directors, and then we have around 25 team members who are either working with the social media team and journalism team. And Menal can go over that a bit more because she's the director of
Okay.
one of those teams.
All right,
So-
Menal. So how does that work?
I have around like 10 active journalism team members, and we have a schedule, and it's usually 2 articles a month, and you can research any topic related to MS. So you can talk about someone who has MS, any new developments in research, anything that's hot that you can research on. You can make an article, and then we upload it onto our website, and we just share it around, and people really love to read our articles. I've heard people like family and friends who are really interested, and it's a good experience. And I feel like a lot of people around us are really incentivized because it's a great way to earn volunteer hours, which are
Right.
really like promoted in our school systems. So overall, pretty fun experience to learn more.
Absolutely. I love that. So then when you've got right now 5 officers, is that
Executive.
correct?
Yeah.
Executive. Okay. And so then, so how many people do you start usually in high school or in college?
Yeah, so we were based in high school. The people who founded them, they started in high school too, but because they're graduating and they're going to college, they handed it off to me. And that's basically also like our overall plan, because what we
Okay.
wanted to do is Address MS, like I feel like one of the beauties of it is because it's a student-led organization at such a young age. And high school students, like a lot of them are very passionate about creating some nonprofit organization to make an impact on their community. And especially in college, they can either be busy and not commit as much time to
Right.
it. So that's why what we do is, what we've done before and what we plan to do in the past is once whoever the current executive director, once they graduate, then any of the other people they can apply, and then they become the executive director. So it's mainly a high
Gotcha.
school organization.
Okay, so now I'm even more impressed because I thought it was college and that you're all in high school. I'm just blown away by the stuff that you guys are doing. So then when you graduate this year, Tyran, right?
So
Or-
I'll graduate next year. I'm a rising senior.
okay. And then you'll hand yours off.
Yeah.
Wow. And so
Mhm.
you have that many people who are still this interested because they just keep getting more excited. Wow.
Yeah.
So now tell me about the nonprofit. Where are you guys at with that?
So yeah, so currently we've tried becoming like an official 501c3 nonprofit before,
Mhm.
but we had some issues with that before. So we're trying again this year. And there's a lot of documents to fill out, but
Yes.
we're currently trying to raise $600 because that's the fee to become a nonprofit, like an official nonprofit.
Okay.
So we're hoping to raise funds through other fundraisers and even with our GoFundMe in our Instagram bio.
Okay.
And then by becoming a nonprofit, there's like way more opportunities we could be a part of. Like one thing that specifically, Kendra Scott, they have this program called Kendra Gives Back. And it's basically like where they highlight a volunteer, like a student-led or they have to be an official nonprofit organization. And they host a fundraiser for them at any
Yes.
local store. And that'd be great for us, especially because they have like 1 million followers on Instagram. So that really
Right.
spread awareness for us. But to do that, we'd have to be an official nonprofit. So that's just one
Correct.
of the examples. And then also there's this organization called Volunteer Match, which
Yeah.
people around the world, they can actually like participate with Address MS. They can make articles, they can make posters, they can contribute in some way from all around the world by having our organization on that website. But to do that, we'd also have to become an
I
official
love that.
nonprofit. So
So
yeah,
you've got stuff out there. So you are literally only $600 and some change short.
yeah.
Okay, so this is gonna go out in a couple weeks. So I am going to ask right now and we'll ask after. Anybody who knows the podcast, all the listeners out there, get your pocketbooks out and send it in. So you guys will have to tell me where to send it in, but there's no reason you guys should not have this money. So absolutely, by the end of this podcast or before it's broadcasted, you guys need to have that money. You guys are doing amazing things. I participated in them. I've seen them. I couldn't be prouder than if I were your parents to see what you guys are doing. I mean, it is simply amazing what you guys are doing and the hearts you have for it. Where do you guys see yourself in the next 2 to 3 years? What kind of things do you look the most forward to, or that you guys think you have things coming up?
So for me personally, like I said, for like specifics in the next year, definitely the Kendra Scott partnership. The speaker panel is definitely something we want to bring back because that was one of my favorite events, like I said, and just local fundraisers. But then once I go to college, and this executive team goes to college, we're still going to overlook the next people who take over Address MS. So still be a part of it and have them just do more creative events because there's definitely more things they can do to raise awareness other than just fundraisers and things like that. In college, for me specifically, I definitely join an MS society because I know for one of the colleges I'm looking at, UVA, they have an MS society and we partnered with them before. So being a part of that, even in college, is definitely something I'm interested in.
Yeah, that's awesome. We definitely appreciate it. What about you, Menal? What do you got going on? What are you excited about?
I feel like once we can get like officially registered, I really see us growing in Virginia. Like I think we target like fellow students and like in our counties, but if we could go even bigger, hit Maryland and like Washington and really expand and do bigger events. Like I know there's always an MS Walk in DC, so
Mhm.
just bringing the organization to the next level. And obviously like I'm going into college next year too with the rest of the executive team, so obviously like I'm gonna visit home, so if I can continue to participate in our local events with Address MS and be a part of other societies that mean a lot to me, including MS, because everybody has like these type of diseases or
Right.
health problems going in our families. So if you can just like, I think your individual commitment is what matters. So if you try your best on your part, it kind of adds up because we all can make that difference.
Absolutely. And it means so much, like having your voices come out and having your age just means so much more because it does mean it's like everybody coming together. And when everybody comes together in all ages, it's one of the things I think are so important. And there's support groups, like one of the support groups that I'm involved in has so many different ages. And I think that means so much because we learn so many things from each other, right? So if I've got a 17-year-old in my support group and I've got a 65-year-old in my support group, there's going to be a lot of things learned. I'm going to learn a lot from you, and you're going to learn a lot from that 65-year-old because she's got a lot to offer and you've got a lot to offer. And I think it's just that open-mindedness that we've got to have, right? It's like, I'm not 65, but I'm going to want to know a lot about what's going on in your world. I want to know a lot about what's changed since I've been in high school. What are the pressures? What are the struggles? And how are you so bold to get across this message? And what are the things that inspire you to do that? And from me, I can give you like lots of knowledge that I have in my world. And I think that that's so important. I love that you guys do this in high school because the people that you're talking to are probably not your age that have MS, some of them, but probably are older, and you're able to talk to them and get like, what is it that it feels like to have this? What are the things that you go through? And then spread awareness and then kind of give them ideas and help. And who do you see as far as the different, there's the MSAA, there's the MS Society, there's Can Do MS. Where is there a certain spot or a certain society or that has helped you to that you've been able to reach out to the most?
So right now, most of our funds, they go to the National MS Society. We donate to them. But recently I've actually contacted some local and like MS organizations, but we haven't partnered with any specifically or gotten help from them specifically, but that's definitely something we're looking into the future. And also one thing I wanted to add on with the future plans thing was we're also hoping to start different chapters of Address MS in different states and then eventually internationally. But what we're doing is we're just trying to find people like around in different states other than Virginia, and they can start their own Address MS in that for that state specifically, and they can host fundraiser events and things like that in their local community. And then once we have like around maybe like 15 like of those in different states, then we can start reaching international levels. And that's definitely something we're interested in, creating more chapters of.
I love that. So
Mhm.
you want to still keep this student led. You want to address MS all over, but you want to keep it student led in
Yes.
different chapters.
Mhm.
That's how I don't want to share or mislead, but I believe MS for MS, that's how he started. He was
Mhm.
just on his own and he just went all over getting his nonprofit. It was a long time coming. It wasn't like he just started.
Yeah.
So I hope that's encouraging, but you know how big it is now.
Mhm.
So he did not start off that way. It's a pretty cool story. So if you could go back to my podcast, I think he was one of my first podcasts. So I need to get him back on again. But that is a great, I love that. That's very inspirational. And I hope and pray that you guys are able to get that in different communities. Because I know there's a lot of them. And we have so many teenagers that do have parents or are seeing some signs in themselves that desperately want. I remember when, my kids wanted to do that and that wasn't even available. And I think that that's such a great idea to have kids to be able to help because they don't know what to do. So I love that you guys want to do that. So this has been very encouraging to have you guys on. I really wanted to highlight what you guys do because it's pretty phenomenal. You don't get a lot of teenagers that care as much as you guys do and that want to do something that's not about what's going to get them into a college or what's going to get them into what their next step is. So for you guys to reach out of what's going on in your world and to expand into others' pain means more than I could ever describe. And I know means so much to others. And so I can just say thank you so much to both of you and to everybody at Address MS. And of course, our hope is that you guys can expand all over. And I know speaking for myself and others, we want to help you in any way we can. So you got to let us know what we can do to help.
Yeah.
So so I know I loved your answer to this. So as I know we already talked about how you guys handed off, which I love that you handed off. If you could leave a message, I'm going to ask both of you this. So Taran, I'm going to have you go first. What message would you leave to listeners?
So yeah, I would say one thing is if you're truly passionate about something and you shouldn't let doubt hold you back if you're really passionate about something. Because creating a nonprofit that's actually making an impact can prove to be quite difficult. And many people will be held back with their doubts, thinking that it's too hard or that they won't gain enough followers and it won't gain enough recognition and they won't be actually making an impact. But it's always important to understand that any impact, and no matter the size, can truly make a difference, and that doubt should never be holding you back and holding back such an amazing thing like that.
Well said. Okay, Menal, what are you at?
I think my message to our listeners would be to not be scared to advocate for anything that means something to them. Your voice and your words are powerful, and there's probably other people who believe in the same thing somewhere in the world. So you're your own biggest obstacle. So if you're able to eliminate your thoughts, you can achieve so much. With MS, Address MS, we never knew that so many people would want to listen to what we do, to take passion and to take interest. So you never know what you believe in is something that someone else cares about too.
Oh, I love that. You guys did great. That was beautiful. Very true and very beautiful. And I think I'm going to end with that because it's perfect. Anytime, I would love to have you guys back on when you guys do your next so we can promote it. My biggest goal is before this is on that you guys get your money so that you guys can become completely nonprofit. You guys deserve it. You've done so much work and I'm so incredibly proud of you guys. So, I'm just so grateful to have you guys back on, and I'm definitely want you guys back when you guys are doing your next event. So thank you guys so much for coming on to Move It or Lose It. Hope that you guys enjoy them as much as I have. And I expect to have a lot of DMs and a lot of emails about how proud you guys are of them. So thank you guys so much for coming on. Enjoy this. Let me know, DM, and any information that you guys have given me. Thank you so much. I've got all of their emails. I've got their Instagram handles. I'll put that all in the bottom of the show notes so you guys can get a hold of them and send them their money so that they can be completely nonprofit. So thank you guys so much for being on. And like I said, don't pull over because I've got their stuff on the bottom of the show notes. So thank you guys so much. Have a great week and I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on Move It or Lose It podcast, where you can again find us wherever you like your podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. Join us on that. And we can't wait to see you again. We're going to have a lot of exciting guests and working together. And as always, you'll hear us say at the end of every podcast, we are stronger together. So let's do it. Let's become stronger together. Have a great day.